Georgia's going on the road to Rocky Top to take on the Tennessee Vols. They are a 10.5-point underdog after getting smacked by Missouri. Now, I had Missouri beating Tennessee, but I didn't know they were going to beat that absolute dog, you know what, out of the Vols. And that had to be one of the worst games that we've ever seen Tennessee play under Josh Heupel. How are they going to respond after having a demoralizing loss like that? Because Missouri really laid it on them. And it doesn't get any easier because you're going against a Georgia team that just beat the brakes off of Ole Miss and put 50 on those guys. And they also did a really good job against Ole Miss offense. And Ole Miss has one of the most explosive offenses in all of college football. Tennessee, they got off their game against Missouri. When you think about Tennessee, you think about their ability to throw the football, spacing you out with their great wide receivers. And to beat Georgia, you need two things. You need wide receivers that are good enough to challenge Georgia's secondary and a quarterback that's good enough to make NFL caliber throws. Joe Milton needs to have the best game that he's ever had for the Tennessee Vols in this matchup if they want to be able to pull off this win. You got the home field advantage. Cool, and you can say that Carson Beck has never been in this hostile of an environment if you're a Vols fan, but I don't really think it matters. Georgia, I was talking to a homie of mine earlier, and he asked me, JT, how good is Georgia? I still believe Georgia's the best team in college football, all right? And it doesn't really matter if Carson Beck hasn't been in a hostile road environment like Rocky Top. Okay, cool. At the end of the day, what does it matter if your defense can't find a way to slow down this Georgia offense? This Georgia offense is the deepest that it's been in the last couple of years. Their last couple of championship teams were pretty good, but they're stacked at receiver. Even when Brock Bowers was out, you still had Ladd McConkey, Dominic Lovett, Ra Thomas. Their running backs are really good. They can beat you in a variety of different ways. Tennessee style of football has been being physical, being able to run the football down your throat. And when they're not able to do that, they get into trouble because their inability to generate the same amount of big plays that they were able to have in 2022 with Hendon Hooker. Georgia, if they shut down Tennessee's run game and you got to ask Joe Milton to win this game for you, he needs to come up big. And I'm a little bit disappointed in how Joe Milton has played this year. He hasn't played awful. He hasn't played bad. I think he's played good, but I just expected more. And if you're a Tennessee fan, be honest, like, even you probably expected a little bit more out of Joe Milton. I thought that he would have been a Heisman contender this year. He is way more talented than Hendon Hooker, has the strongest arm maybe in the history of football, and Tennessee has been utilizing him a lot on the run. And you see in the first half against Alabama, they looked really good offensively. You need that first half offense that you displayed against Bama when you went into halftime with a 27 lead to show up in this game against Georgia. Because if not, this game has a chance of getting really ugly in front of your hometown fans. And, you know, having the home field advantage definitely should help out Tennessee and help them find a way to keep this game close. But you're still going to need Joe Milton to step up and make those big throws. These receivers are really good. You got my guy Squirrel White. I mean, there's so much talent in this wide receiver room for Tennessee that I think their receivers are good enough to get the job done as long as Joe Milton can hold up his end of the bargain. Can Tennessee play a complimentary game where they get the run game going against Georgia? I don't know. I mean, they didn't really have success running the football against Missouri. As a matter of fact, they got absolutely gashed on the ground against Missouri. They had only, 83 total yards of rushing compared to Missouri going for a buck 250? And that doesn't even include their running back who they gave up 205 yards to. Tennessee, they got to get back to that physical brand of football that they were playing when they were playing their best football early during the middle portion of this season. This Tennessee team isn't built off airing the football out and being a finesse team. And you're not going to beat Georgia that way anyway. You got to be able to hold your own up front when you're going against this Georgia defense. I've said this plenty of times. I'm going to say it again. This Georgia defense isn't as good as the previous two defenses that they've had the last 2 seasons, because those defenses have been historically great. Now, Georgia's defense this year is still really good, but up front, Tennessee, you need to be able to have success controlling the trenches. If you can't control the trenches against Georgia, you already lost. You need to give Joe Milton time to throw the football downfield, and Joe Milton needs to make big plays for you in the passing game. And you're also going to need a little bit out of him in the ground department as well, because I don't really see Jabari Small and the other running backs that you have on your team having a lot of success on the ground. And Joe Milton has been asked to run the football a lot more lately over the last couple of weeks. This is going to be one of those performances that you just need an all-world performance out of Joe Milton to pull off this upset. Meanwhile, for Georgia, you're playing on the road. You can't get rattled. You got to make sure that you take care of the football, and you don't allow Tennessee to push you around up front, which shouldn't happen. Even though Tennessee is pretty formidable, when you look at their offensive line and their defensive line, like, it may be a little bit surprising to say that Tennessee has been one of the most physical teams in the conference this year, because you don't really think about them having that style of football. But this isn't the same Tennessee team that we saw last year, where they want to throw it all over the field against you. They got to be able to run the football and control the trenches up front, and they weren't able to do that against Missouri. They got to be able to do that if they want to have a shot at even keeping this game close, because I'm pretty sure the football team would hate to get embarrassed in front of their home crowd, but I think it's going to happen anyway. I think Georgia wins this game. I think maybe Tennessee could keep it close for maybe a quarter or two. Tennessee was able to get right against Alabama. They were up 20-7 at halftime. So, I mean, if you could play that same brand of football in the first half against Bama, why can't you do it against Georgia? Regardless of how Georgia fans feel about Alabama and how better they think they are, Alabama still is a really good team, and they got a really great defense. Tennessee has shown the ability to have really good performances on offense. They just haven't been able to do it consistently for 4 quarters against great teams. And they got smacked by Missouri last week on the road. Them playing at home should energize them a little bit. Maybe they come out of the locker room a little bit amped up and wanting to give it to you because you're the number 1 team. And we remember how this game went last year. But I think this game is going to be really ugly for Tennessee. And if you're a Tennessee fan and you're going to this game, I'm going to ask you, how long are you going to stay around when this game does get ugly? Give me Georgia to win. 38-14 is my final score prediction for this matchup. I'm taking the Bulldogs to win outright, and I like them to cover.